Welcome to the Explainer. We're jumping straight into the massive Claude Code 2.1.234 release today. If you've been running Anthropic's terminal-based coding tool, you're definitely going to want to listen up, because this update, it's basically making everything significantly smarter, radically cheaper to run, and a whole lot safer for your local environment. So quick roadmap for what we're covering. We're going to hit the quality of life upgrades first, some real workflow speedups there. Then we'll look at the massive context cost reduction, dive into some absolutely crucial security enhancements, and finish up with the new midterm commands and bug fixes. All right, let's dive into Section 1, Quality of Life Upgrades. You know that incredibly annoying feeling when you get totally pulled out of the zone? Yeah, we've all been there. What happens when you hit a usage limit right in the middle of a massive, sprawling coding session? In the past, Claude Code would just stop, dead in its tracks. You'd be stuck babysitting the terminal, constantly checking your watch and waiting for that API limit to reset just so you could manually kick things off again. It was a huge context breaker. Well, Anthropic came up with a pretty brilliant fix for this. With version 2.1.234, the second your limit resets, the session auto-continues seamlessly. It's honestly a hero solution. You're completely free from having to watch the screen like a hawk. And hey, if you're someone who likes staying in the driver's seat, don't worry. There's a manual toggle right in the /config menu to handle this. Moving right along, if you work with GitLab, this next thing is a total game changer. There's now a live GitLab merge request badge. It looks like an exclamation point followed by the MR number sitting right there in your footer. Assuming you've got the GitLab CLI installed and authenticated, you get this instant zero-context switch read on more MRs. Draft, pending, beautiful green state. You know exactly where your code is at without ever leaving the terminal. We've also got a few small but mighty 2E updates. First up, a highly requested keybinding, selection::clear. This lets you quickly drop any in-app text selection, which is super handy if you live in the main interface or the agent's view. Oh, and for teams running this in managed or multi-session environments, there's a new environment variable that lets hosts give a short, readable name to the per-project transcript folder. It really keeps the whole shebang impeccably organized. Moving on to Section 2, Massive Context Cost Reduction. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Context bloat and those ridiculously expensive token drops during long coding sessions. The scale of the optimization here is wild. Booting up the built-in Claude API skill used to eat up roughly 200,000 tokens upfront. With this new version, that plummets to just 25,000 tokens. That is a staggering 87.5% drop in token consumption just for starting the skill. So how do they actually pull that off? Simple. They stopped loading absolutely everything up front and started fetching reference docs on demand. The mechanics here are profound. By only grabbing the documentation when the API skill actually needs it, you're pretty much guaranteed much longer, dramatically cheaper API sessions. Your valuable context window stays completely fresh for the stuff that actually matters, your code base. All right, let's move to Section 3, Crucial Security Enhancements. This brings us to probably the most technically significant change in the entire release. Autonomy is great, but keeping your local machine secure is absolutely non-negotiable. Pay attention to NT-namespace paths. These are Windows paths starting with a \,*?. As of this update, they are strictly rejected across the board. Remote file reads, session restores, workflow scripts, file uploads, all of it. And why does this matter? Because blocking that specific path structure successfully slams the door on a known vulnerability that could leak Windows NT-LM authentication credentials. It locks down those pre-approval file access points. And the credential masking is so much tighter now, too. With the old system, relaying permission previews could sometimes inadvertently hide commands or destination paths from the human approver. Not anymore. Version 2.1.234 introduces a tightened masking system that flat-out refuses to hide those critical details. Your permission previews are completely transparent now, meaning you know exactly what Claude is trying to execute before you actually hit approve. Finally, let's jump into Section 4, Midterm Commands and Fixes. Okay, if you've been using this tool for a while, you know how annoying it was to sit there waiting for Claude to finish thinking before you could enter basic administrative commands. It completely broke your flow. Well, that friction is gone. You can now run commands like /permissions and /add_dir actively mid-turn, right while it's working, and the rule changes apply immediately. Plus, dialogues like /autocompact, /theme, and /config can now neatly interrupt right in the full-screen interface. You stay totally in control without breaking a sweat. So, the crucial point here is that the baseline stability of the platform is way, way up. Let me rapid fire through some critical fixes. First, they fixed markdown rendering crashes that were happening with unusual Unicode sequences. Second, a huge privacy fix. MCP diagnostics won't print resolved secrets in plain text anymore. And third, they patched a really frustrating bug where remote control intercession messages were silently dropping, which used to leave you stuck in that thinking state for minutes on end. There are actually over 25 bug fixes in total in this release, making it one of the most robust builds we've seen yet. If you want the complete changelog and the full manual on how to use all these features, you definitely want to head over to claudemaster.net. With Claude Code getting smarter about its context, significantly cheaper to run, and locked down against credential leaks, it really makes you wonder, how will letting go of all this micromanagement fundamentally reshape what you're able to build every single day? Something to think about as you update your terminal. Thanks for joining this explainer, and happy coding.